I wanted to do a flashback and gratitude shout out and a small story this afternoon. When I was about 5 years old, I was tested for and admitted to a school here in Manhattan called Hunter. It was a school for gifted kids. And at that point, because you're freaking 4 or 5 years old, how do you get tested to be gifted? Well, it was a whole process. You had to do an interview and do all these little problems and things, and it was very fascinating. And I remember after the test being like, well, I'm amazing, so of course I'm going to get in. And I did. And at the time, this was like the early 70s, so life was different then. It was not a simpler time, it was a shit time. If you grew up in New York in the 70s, then you know how hardcore shit was. It was brutal. When I look back on film or movies or television or documentaries about the 70s, there's a really excellent one about the blackout and subsequent rioting and issues that happened during the blackout of 77 that I highly recommend. But when you sit there watching it, you think, holy crap, we lived like that. Wow. So started school and just loved it. I have the privilege of really having enjoyed attending school, which was amazing and really delightful. And one of the main reasons for that were our teachers and administrators. To this day, their names really resonate for me as people I loved and respected. Mrs. Faraza, who was my first teacher, I believe, in first grade, and then Linda, who was my teacher in second grade, who wound up being my first grown-up friend. Subsequent to that, I actually had other grown-up friends, but they were grown-up friends through my mom. But I had plenty of adults who would call the house and talk to me and check in, or occasionally take me out to the park or for play dates. And so I really loved and respected those folks. Primary among them was Mr. Seidman, who became Dr. Seidman as we grew up. He got his doctorate. And one of the things that I remember the most about him was his incredible patience. Coming from a house with a father who lacked that particular skill set, being patient with kids, it was really remarkable to me to have an adult who was incredibly patient with me, especially with my one primary weakness, which was losing my lunchbox. Flash forward to a few years ago, and I actually found on eBay a duplicate of the lunchbox that I had as a kid, the Walt Disney school bus lunchbox. And this is in pretty good condition for something that's probably 40-something years old. And as you can see, we've got the characters on there. We've got Alice and Pinocchio, Dumbo, Mickey, other Mickey, maybe it's the nephews, Goofy. We got Jiminy Cricket there. At the front of the bus, you see, these guys. In the back of the bus, hanging out in the back, it's probably physically impossible, but okay. And then on the other side, you've got Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Bugs Bunny, one of the things in, Bambi here and whatever. Inside, there also was a thermos. This one, I did not get the thermos for because it was like twice as expensive and I didn't need it. But I freaking loved this lunchbox, and I actually rode a school bus to school, so it was, very meta to get onto a big school bus with a little school bus. And I would perpetually misplace my lunchbox. I would come into school, get undressed, if it was, especially in the wintertime when you had to take off 18 layers and then, have your school clothes on underneath. And very often I would forget where I placed my lunchbox. And Dr. Seidman would come and he would literally take my hand and say, okay, let's retrace our steps and see if we can figure out where you left it. What did you do when you first came in? And this was how I learned retracing my steps and physical recall of actions in order to recall something. And we would just chat about my day, how things were going, how things were at home as we walked around looking for my lunchbox, and then would eventually find it. Which is a small thing, I suppose, in the day of a principal who's running an entire school. But I can tell you, the fact that an adult took the time to help me and to give me tools in order to help myself in the future was transformational. And I just loved Dr. Seidman. He was always so kind and always so thoughtful and always so supportive of each and every one of us. I never felt closer to anyone in school than I did to him at that time. And what was amazing about it is that so many decades later, I still have such a warm feeling and smile when I recall his kindness and his thoughtfulness. So I don't have any big message about this. Be nice to kids, I guess. But more than that, understand that when you help a child, you are really helping an adult that you may never ever know. I'm lucky in that we're actually Facebook friends. He's on Facebook, so I get to post this, and hopefully he'll be able to see it, and so I can say to him directly and personally, Dr. Seidman, thank you so much for your kindness and your thoughtfulness and your patience, helping a little girl with knobbly knees from the projects find her lunchbox over and over and over again. Never a complaint, never an eye roll, just always that wonderful smile and taking my hand and helping me to find my way. Thank you.